What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds, the podcast that features members of your favorite bands as we explore their love of pop culture. I'm your Sean Mott, and this week I'm joined by Charlie of As Everything Unfolds. Welcome to the show.
I was going to roll with it. I was going to be Carly for the episode, so you know.
I don't think it's as bad as the Poppy and Courtney LaPlante thing, but a slip of the tongue is a slip of the tongue.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll just, it's, you know, it was in the right area, so you're fine.
I corrected myself, you know. Very stoked to have you here. As I was, this opportunity happened, and I was researching the band a little bit, checking out your guys' latest music videos for the singles of the upcoming album. I saw that the music videos, you co-wrote all of the music videos with the director.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know. I mean, for one, that's really cool to have that sort of artistic license. I know some bands have a lot of say in it. Some bands are like, they hire a certain person. They're like, you take care of this. This is not our bag, you know. But I want to know if any of the music videos were inspired by any forms of like TV or movies to help inform the story you're trying to tell in those.
Oh, the whole thing is inspired by movies. That's like the whole shebang. It's one of those things where I come from a background educationally of photography, so I studied photography so I have a bachelor's degree in photography, and it was mainly like darkroom practice, so like film photography, medium format, like processing film and that kind of stuff. So I've always had this like affinity for like media, like creative media. And even when I was studying photography, I didn't actually enjoy taking images as much as I enjoyed creating like the background of it. So I always really enjoyed like creating the stories and like coming up with like projects. I've still got a list of like hundreds of projects that I would love to undertake one day, but my whole thing is I'm like, I don't count myself as a photographer. I'm more like a background, like, oh, I've got this idea. So that's why working with somebody like Zach, who we've worked with loads of times before, like I could kind of put my trust in him and vice versa, where we were like, cool, we want to create this thing. So I basically just pushed all my ideas onto him, and I went, right, you make this realistic or, you know, for the budget we have and for the time we have and all this kind of stuff. And he did a great job. But yeah, the whole album is kind of inspired by like movie world. So the first video set in flow is Blade Runner, which I'm a big fan of. And the second main music video is Gasoline, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula. And the third one, final music video, which is Donnie Darko. So, and all of those are films that I love for different reasons, like on a personal level, but they all have like very interesting like connotations to them. So like Blade Runner is very much like about like replicants and whether they are human, like then the whole concept of what makes a human human? Like, is it our soul? Is it because we're born? Is it because so there's that whole argument. I thought that was really super interesting. And then Bram Stoker's Dracula was the whole idea of like vampires were created as a terror management thing by humans because we were scared of dying. Like that's what religion is classified as psychologically. Obviously that's separate from belief, but it's more just like it's a way that we create things to kind of like deal with our fear of death as a human being. And also the red thread of fate kind of ties in with Dracula about like the whole like, you know, waiting 200 years to realign himself with his lost love and all this kind of stuff. And then Donnie Darko is about like self-sacrifice and like tangent universes and like things like, you know, like that Matrix point, or what is it, like Nexus events and things like that, where like things like divert off and create, because people don't know this, but Donnie Darko is a wildly sci-fi film. And because people just watch it and go, cool, like teen horror flick, and I'm like, it's great, it's a great teen horror flick, but people don't realize that the whole thing's happening in a tangent universe. Like the whole thing is like a diversion, and there's the manipulated living, the manipulated dead, like there's so much like to it. And I kind of took all of that and I wanted to like create videos that resembled those films because I wrote the subject matter of the songs about them. So I kind of felt that it worked quite nicely. And then in with that, the album is about living in like a maladaptive dream state, so kind of being really disassociated and almost living vicariously like through these movies and dream worlds that you really enjoy and can kind of put yourself into.
Wow,
thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I mean that's what this podcast is for, exactly, as answers like that. Some people are like, I'm rambling. I'm like, no, you need to ramble. That's the point. That's what these things are for. But that's awesome. That's really cool. And what great picks. Great picks. We were talking a little bit before recording about the Dune Part 3 trailer. You brought up Blade Runner. Obviously, Denis did Blade Runner 2049. very much in that dude's a sci-fi guy.
I just texted somebody and was like, he saved cinema this year. He's done it. He's done it. Like, you know, like it was one of those things where, like, as a film buff, and I'm sure a lot of people can sympathize, is that there's only like one film a year that I really get excited about. Like, you know, these
Really?
days it's kind of, yeah, like, because weirdly I watched Sinners recently and I wasn't a fan, and which is weird because it's
What?
definitely the kind of film that I should have liked, but I didn't. And I
Interesting.
need to rewatch it because I think that I need to go into it with a different perspective. It's annoying. Cinematography and, you know, like all of that, incredible. Casting, incredible. I think I just something didn't click with me. But yeah, like Denis, like he's incredible. He's probably one of my favorite directors over the last like few years. And I think his take on sci-fi is exactly what it's needed. Like 2049 was so good. Like 2049 is like a comfort film for me, which is a wild comfort film to have. Like it's not exactly a cheery Sunday afternoon movie, but you know, it's for me, it's like it's just got everything. And he did Arrival as well, didn't he? Because that one as well is like, again, the deep, it's always like that deeper context. And like Dune as well, like again, you can enjoy Dune as like a surface level sci-fi shooter. Well, they don't shoot, there's no guns, but like it's like, you know, a sci-fi kind of like universe. But if you want to go more into it, oh, there's so much. So
Yeah,
much.
it's, you know, it's a completely deconstruction of the hero's journey. You know what I mean? It's so funny seeing people react at the end of part 2, being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's
Yeah.
not the good guy." Oh, because so many people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, white savior. Oh, this is so," and I was like,
Yeah.
"He's not the hero,
That
guys."
was such a big thing. Yeah, because that was when it first came out, like people were like, "Oh my god, like yeah, this is like quite, you know, quite insensitive because it is, it's like the white hero savior complex." I'm like, you are missing the whole point of the film. Like that is the point. The point is
Yeah.
that like he is a false prophet. Like that is
Yep.
and again, like I completely understand why if you're not into that kind of world, like, and you've not researched it, that's how it might come across. But it is so interesting that like it's a criticism of exactly that, and like colonialism, and you know, us going and, you know, invading places and calling people savages and all that kind of stuff, when it's just, yeah, but it's a fascinating world to get into. I mean, yeah, it goes a bit wild after Children of Dune, but you know, you know, the
So I've
worm.
heard. Yeah, the worm. I mean, I've heard Messiah. I read like the first quarter of the first Dune book, and then I watched the movie after, which gave me a very good groundwork for the movie, to be honest, because you know all the characters, you know the terminology. It gave me like a
Yeah.
very, like, I felt at home like watching the movie, when
Yeah.
I'm sure for most people it's kind of like Game of Thrones. You kind of just get thrown in, you're like, figure it
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
as
for
you go
sure.
along.
No, it is, because there's
But
even when you're reading Dune though as well, like you read it and they have the Dune encyclopedia, like as it, you can
right.
have that as like a side thing, because it is, it literally throws you in, and it's like, yes,
Yeah.
the Bene Gesserit, and you're like, who? Like,
What?
so yeah, and Game of Thrones, you're right, it's like all the houses and all this kind of stuff, and it throws you in on it, but you do get it eventually. It needs a bit of commitment.
Yes. You just need to catch up and be patient, that you will catch up eventually. But I want to go back and finish it, which is very hard for me to read a book after I've watched the adaptation. I usually need to read before I watch. But I do want to read Messiah, because I feel like they're going to change a lot of stuff, because I've heard that book is also very
they've
weird.
already changed so much, like even from the original Dune book. Like it's not, it's like they've taken so much out, some probably necessary and not really, you know, like when you, but like, so, you know, but I mean, I'm not being funny, there's a lot of just stuff going. I don't know if anybody's ever, I've listened to the audiobook, but if you've ever attempted to read Dune, it's hard work. It's a hard read, but again, it's worth it for the world building. But there is a lot of stuff that's just kind of skipped over, which is totally fair. But they have changed because oh my god, what's this? It's not Ganima. What's the sister called? Oh my god,
Anya Taylor-Joy's character.
Yes, it begins with A. She is a different age than she is in the book. Like
Alia.
There's like
Alia.
Alia, that's it. Yeah, she's like, there's like an age up situation they've done in the films, I think, and stuff like that.
No talking baby.
And no, that's exactly. I think Dene was like, no.
Yeah.
And no, like, you know, again, and I think that's why, like, because I saw somebody comment on the on the video, and they were like, oh god, this is really sad that it's the end, and people were going, no, this is a good thing, I promise you. Like it gets a bit fucking wild after this. So it finishing here is probably a good idea.
Even the David Lynch Dune, which I have not watched, I refuse to watch it. I've seen clips though, and the reason I refuse to watch it is because of the clips I watched. But the whole, like, the end battle scene with
Yeah.
with Foyd and Paul is insane. But screaming, talking child, blue-eyed Aaliyah is batshit
Yeah.
unneeded.
It's,
I
mean,
think
the
I'm
whole
glad
thing, I mean, I'm
they
glad
took that
Lynch
out.
did. Yeah, well, at the same time, I'm glad Lynch did it because he was probably the only person that could get away with doing it that way. He was the only person that could
True.
get away with doing that. And actually, in the fan community, in the Dune sort of fan community, like his portrayal of the space navigators is apparently like a really lore book accurate, like, because we've not seen them in the Dune films, because again they're described as like fish people. So Denny was like, no. He's just kept being like, no. And I think it's when they come off the travelator at the, like, on the first film, I think it's the ones with the bowl heads. They're supposed to be, that's like his version of the space navigators. But as they go on through their lifespans, they literally turn into like fish people, and they have like no limbs and shit like. And then David Lynch went, yes, that's up my street. Which obviously it is. So yeah, he loved that. But again, it was very popular among, like, I think the films were a bit sort of like meh. But again, the time it was like
It fits the time.
It was taken on too early. Dune was taken on far
way
too
too early.
early. So now, perfect.
Yeah, even now, I think it was almost an impossible feat that I think only someone like Denis could have handled. Maybe Nolan, because I feel like they're on the same caliber of filmmaking for sure. It's kind of a little out of Nolan's bag, even though he's doing a very kind of not Nolan like thing with the Odyssey, doing like a very fantastical thing.
I'm curious about this because, like, I'm down for a twist on the Odyssey because, like, everyone I think was bigging it up, and I'm like, it's Nolan. It's not going to be the Odyssey. It's not just going to be the Odyssey. But so I'm up for like a cool futuristic retelling of it. Like, if it's just that story taken into a futuristic setting, I'm down for that. That sounds fucking cool. But I do think that Nolan does have something that Denis doesn't have, where it's like, Nolan is a lot more like real. Like, I feel like what he did with like the Dark Knight and Batman, like he made it more like grounded and real and kind of less fantasy. Whereas like Denis, like he's his ability to make things fantasy but also real at the same time is quite unique.
Yes.
So, and obviously a credit to like his like director of photography and stuff as well. But like, yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, the two of them are, I mean, for me, like, Nolan is more like the storytelling, and Nolan, I think, is like, for me, is like the screenplay is like, is it his brother, isn't it? Like is it Christopher Nolan?
Jonathan,
oh, Christopher, that's the director one. Yeah, Jonathan Nolan. I was like, there's two brothers, definitely. But yeah, the two of them create like incredible stories, and I love every film they do.
Yeah, they're the best. And it's so wild hearing them. If you watch them separately in interviews, if you haven't, I implore you to, because they were both raised in separate countries. Nolan went to like boarding school in Europe, and Jonathan grew up in Chicago because their parents split up. And Nolan sounds like he grew up in, I think it was England. I could be wrong, but I know somewhere in Europe. And then Jonathan has like an English American Chicago accent.
What a combo.
They sound totally different. It's crazy. It's so cool, and it's cool to see them. They obviously frequently collaborate. I think Jonathan's more busy. He's like one of the main people involved with the Fallout TV series, so he's kind of been busy with that, and Nolan's been doing all this other stuff. That's very Nolan, but it is very cool. And it's wild because after Dune, well, the one thing about Dune 3 that I don't want to say worried about, because I feel like Denis would put someone in place that would be good enough. But Greg Fraser is not shooting Dune Part 3, which he shot the first two. And he's also not shooting the Batman Part 2, which he shot the Batman. But the guy they had to replace, I can't remember his name, but I know this Dune 3 was shot on IMAX 65 millimeter. So completely on IMAX film. And it looks like visceral and grungy, and like you can like feel the
Yeah,
visuals, and I love
this is
that. It looks
honestly
awesome.
film, and I get like going back, like for my roots, like film is where I like come from artistically and
Right.
stuff like that. It has something that you can't take away, and there's a reason Nolan still, and a lot of directors of that level will work with IMAX. Like it's so loud, it's so expensive, it's so inconvenient to film with. Have you seen the size of the cameras? It's unreal. But
It's
and the
crazy.
sound it makes is people. If honestly, anybody who's listening to this, go on YouTube and listen to that they're filming with the sound of an IMAX camera. It's unbelievable. But it's because you can't beat it. There's nothing. There's no camera that has been created that can replicate that.
No.
And it's the same thing as like Technicolor. I was talking to somebody recently about like they can't recreate Technicolor. Like they can try as much as they want, but you cannot recreate, because it was to do with the process of like something to do with the color processing of the film or the particular film that it was, and they stopped using it. Either it was too expensive, or it was like it used some chemical that was either scarce or poisonous, probably. Um, but I can't remember what it was, but they stopped using it, and that's why like you don't get films like The Wizard of Oz. You don't get films that look like that anymore. And yeah, you can like digitally try and recreate it, but it's never the same. It's never quite the same. I saw a funny meme, and it was like, if you're like a creative Paramount, and it's like you're like, I want to shoot on Technicolor. It's like they take you out back and they shoot you in the head. They're like, no Technicolor. It's too expensive.
I mean, it's the crazy thing about like VistaVision. It's like I feel like there's only a finite left in the world, but lately there's been a lot of movies. Like One Battle After Another was shot in VistaVision. The Brutalist was shot in VistaVision. Or maybe they found a way to recreate it. I was talking to my friend who's also, he's very into film. He has like a film company where he rolls his own film and process it and everything like that. And he was talking, every time I see like because that's been a big thing too, that's cool now. Like Coogler did it for Sinners, talking about the different formats and how he shot it and what he shot it on and stuff like that. And a lot of creators are doing that now. And I always send it to him because I know he like nerds out about that shit, and he's like, this is so cool.
It's good. It's good though, because it's like it's bringing that world back in. It's like it's true art. Like at the end of the day, like, and it's not taking away from people that do stuff digitally, because sometimes it is the only way to do things. But I'm so glad that it's still a format. Like the IMAX is still a format that's used. But my worry is that once those directors like phase out, like who's going to be using it anymore? Because I don't think these people, they don't train you in how to like shoot on film. You'd have to go and like learn externally, or you'd have to pay for it yourself, which is nigh on impossible. So I do worry for the future of film. But I'm glad that there are, like, especially like the Sinners. I can't remember her name. The DO, I think she's the DOP, and I watched a really interesting video of her talking about it, and I was like, this is what we need. We need younger like people like her, like talking openly with young filmmakers, trying to encourage the use of it, because it'll just die out otherwise. It's the same as like this argument in the UK at the moment. This is a big about the pubs dying out, and it's like, well, if you don't use them, they're gonna go. So
wow. Oh yeah, because like the younger generation is like not drinking. That's like the big thing. Even
And
which
they're like, oh, I love the pub. I'm like, but you don't.
I'm straight edge, so
yeah.
So
like, I mean, I don't go. I mean, I do drink, but I drink very socially, like at the weekend, or like. But I don't go. I actually can't tell you the last time I went to the pub. Like it's just so bloody expensive, to be honest. That's why. But yeah, it's the same thing of like, if you don't use it, it will die out, and then you'll be sad that it's gone. So but yeah, just lots of good encouragement from young filmmakers, I think, will change that, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been this cool thing of like everything's a circle, and I like the fact that in TV and movies, people are going back to this practicality nature, because obviously as soon as CGI became like a viable thing that everyone could use, especially in like the early 2000s, people overused it. And then they came to a point they're like, oh, we can mix both and get the best product possible. And that's what I love, that we're finally getting to that point now. It's so funny because there's like this study about how movies had this kind of unrealistic feel to them for so long, to feel like this like escapism of movies, and now they kind of have this like tangible real world feel, even for things that aren't tangible and real world feeling. And I love that. And it was same thing happened with the volume. The volume came, it was a great invention to get kind of, get rid of green screens, get rid of blue screens, whatever. But then people became too reliant on it rather than
Mm.
using it as a tool. And now people are now realizing, oh, we can use this as a tool. There's a crazy behind the scenes shot of from Superman when he's flying through the Antarctic where the Fortress of Solitude is, all covered by snow. They filmed the actual environment
Yeah.
and then they put it on these LED screens, and then they had David Cornsweet around these screens that were like actual, so they're like playing back the footage they
Yeah.
actually shot on these screens, so they can give you that real feel without it being VFX. Like it's actually in camera shot. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
these screens, which is awesome. And but that's how you
It's
use
so
it. Or
cool.
there's a crazy House of the Dragon thing they used with a volume that you can find that HBO posted like for season 2 or whatever, and it shows you how they built everything out, and like that's how you use it, as a tool, not as a
Yeah.
replacement.
I think that's it.
That's
And
the
that,
biggest
you
thing.
know, it's, yeah, exactly. And like, I'll be honest with you, the biggest failure I think of like filmmakers in the last like 10 years has been Marvel, because I think they have just destroyed, like, everything looks glossy, everything looks rubbish, and I'm just like, you are spending so much money, but your product is rubbish. Like, at the end of the day, like, in my opinion, like, the last good film was Infinity War. Done. Like, in my opinion, that's what I feel. But like it just looks like, I think I watched was it Quantum Mania or whatever it was, and it was, I can't remember the character's name with
Volume.
the face. Oh, was it? Oh,
It's like all in the
okay.
volume, the whole thing. Yeah.
Really? But why does it look like that? Like, but the guy with the floating head, and I can't remember his name, his character, but I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this looks so
Modoc.
bad. Yeah, that's it. I was like, this looks so bad. I don't know. But I think that, like, I just feel like when it's not done with love and when it's not done with the right usage, it can just fall apart. And I think, but again, that goes for everything. It's like you said, like Peter Jackson is the perfect example of the early 2000s, right? Is that he understood the practical effects were going to win over the early versions of CGI, but he knew that at points, like the Balrog, he was like, well, I can't make a Balrog, so I'm going to have to like CGI this. But he did it in a way that was so minimal, so they could
Yep.
spend more time and money on it to make it look good. And some of it, like the worst bit of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, is the warg, the wargs when they're like in the battle sequence, like when they're running through the fields. It looks a bit rubbish now, but it's such a small part of the film that it doesn't bother me. Whereas now I feel like there's so many films, they just make the whole film. And I know that there's a lot of actors. I remember even Ian McKellen, when they did the Hobbit franchise, there's a video of him literally being like, this doesn't feel like acting because I'm just stood in front of a blue screen. And there's
Yep.
nothing here, and it's just, and I know Peter Jackson was involved in it, but the whole Hobbit thing, there's like the reason why it was the way it was and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's sad because I do think that actors definitely prefer practical environments, and I do think that, yeah, the screen thing, like that is like a perfect in between, where it's like if it's not physically possible to go there, at least they've actually filmed it and just superimposed it into a space so that actors can act. I feel like a lot of actors just act so much better when they're on practical sets, and especially
Sure.
people like Ian McKellen who come from theatre, where their whole thing is like engaging in like energy, like it's energy off people, energy off environment, and that kind of stuff. So I could go on for hours.
It's crazy you mentioned Marvel, because even they have gone a full like 180 with that
Have
stuff.
they? Interesting, because I
Oh yeah.
honestly had checked it. I checked out, and I was so invested in it for years. I just
One I would say to check out that I feel like might be up your alley is called Thunderbolts. It stars Florence
Okay.
Pugh, for one. That's a big plus already.
Yeah.
But it was directed by Jake Schreier, who he's mainly known for the series Beef that was on Netflix. It was an A24
Yes.
series. And the whole team behind that movie was all A24 people, to the point
Nice. Good.
where
Yeah.
they made like a joke A24 trailer, because so many
That's
of the
good.
stars starred in A24 things, like the production, the cinematographer, the composer was the same composer from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it is kind of like it's like if
Yeah.
A24 made a Marvel movie, kind of, in a lot of ways.
Interesting. I'll have to watch it. I've got Disney
It's a good
Plus,
one.
so
Yeah.
I'll put it on. But it's yeah, I think it's sad because I checked out of so much of it. I watched Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was okay because it was kind of separate. It felt like it was
Yeah.
separate from the rest of the universe. I didn't like any of the mainstream stuff they were doing. I really liked WandaVision when they first did that first season. I was like, oh, and I did like Loki. Tell a lie, I liked Loki.
Loki's
So
incredible.
yeah,
That's in a
so
league of
but
its own.
yeah, exactly. So I felt like there were pockets of it, but the mainline films, I was just like, why is there no love in it? Why does it feel like this is just happening because it has to happen? And
Yeah.
that probably is the reason why. But yeah, it's a shame because obviously, I mean, maybe they can save it because obviously they're doing this whole like, you know, Doctor Doom and all this kind of stuff, and Robert Downey's coming back, and there is actually a canonical law reason for that apparently as well. Like they can explain that away.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe I'll give it another go. Maybe I'll start with Thunderbolts and see how I feel.
Yeah. I would say that's the safest bet. That's been the
Okay,
one everyone's kind of been like, oh, that one was really good.
okay.
Even Fantastic Four, from a practical level, I don't think that movie
Mm,
is as good as Thunderbolts. I think that movie's. I think it could have been a lot better. I just think
yeah,
the story is the third act. Just it's a classic Marvel third act. It kind of just happens, and you're like, okay. For Galactus, they had the guy. They made like a real life suit, and they
yeah.
built like a model city of like the retro futuristic New York that he stomped through and stuff like that. So it's like
That's
a
so
lot of it
cool.
is super practical, even with that, which I think is
Yeah,
really cool.
interesting.
So they've and I think a lot of it was, which sucks, is the whole changing of the Disney CEO stuff. And
Yeah.
when WandaVision started, they were like, oh, we need to do all these shows. WandaVision did so great. And they just kind of rushed too much
But they
stuff rather
missed the
than being
point.
like,
I hate like
yes,
these
they did.
directors. They miss the point of like why it does well. It's not
Yes,
because it's just there. It's because that specific
it's good.
one was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
not because it just happened. So yeah, like you're right. They go right. Okay, we're gonna do 5 more, and you're like, no, stop.
That's why I love, like, regardless of what how you felt about Sinners, I would say revisit it, because I think that's the beautiful thing about film is I as soon as the expectation is gone, once you revisit something, you watch something through a completely different lens, and that could
Yeah,
definitely change things. But after the obvious success of that in the box office, they were like, people were like, oh, Sinners 2, and Ryan Coogler is like, no. He's like, this is the story.
yeah, yeah,
Okay?
yeah. But
Deal
it's
with it.
because they're artists. They're artists, and their film is their art. So like for them,
Yep.
it's like a full stop on the end of it. It's not like it's like no. The story was told. The story was finished. I don't know how the hell you could even do a Sinners 2. I don't even know how that would be possible. But it's like it's just one of those things where like yeah, I like I was probably a bit critical. Like I wasn't like I hated it, but I think like so many people were like, you need to watch
The
it. And I was
hype.
like, no, I do really want, and I think that maybe didn't help because I think I was like, oh, I didn't. But do you know what I didn't like as much as I should have as well was Frankenstein, because everybody was like, and I didn't like Nosferatu either. Eggers has very
I
much let me down recently. I'm
I
not happy
hated
about it.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, it's so bad. I'm sorry. It's shite. It's just it was. I'm a big Bram Stoker's. Like Gary Oldman is the best Dracula. You cannot. I think that's the problem. Was and I didn't like what's her name Johnny Depp's daughter Lily Rose Depp. I didn't like it.
Awful.
I really didn't. And I understand that he was trying to do a different direction on the Nosferatu story because like the end of the day, like all the Dracula, Van Helsing, it's all the same story of Bram Stoker's Dracula, just retold in a slightly different way. And
Yep.
I understood what he was trying to do. It was more about like female sexuality rather than about like love and romance. It was about like the like forbidden like like thing of like female sexual empowerment or some I can't remember something along those lines. And I just thought it was done really poorly, and I didn't like the acting. I thought it looked okay, but I can't tell you a moment in that film where I went, "Oh, that was good." Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't make me feel anything. It made me just walk away and go, "Well, I'm just gonna go watch the one from 1990, whatever it was." And Keanu Reeves wasn't even great in that, but it's okay because Keanu Reeves isn't the main character in that. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all about like Mina and because to me, it's like the whole Dracula thing is it's Mina and Count's relationship. It's their chemistry. Like, that's the whole point of the thing. Basically, they just made Nosferatu into this horrible, creepy thing. And then Lily Rose Depp, I just was not convinced by her at all.
No. I
Yeah.
think the problem with these like modern, I think Frankenstein nailed the tone at least, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's where Nosferatu, like Frankenstein's what I wanted Nosferatu to be, but I do
yes,
think
yeah.
parts in Frankenstein could have been like the young part of
Hmm.
Dr. Frankenstein, they could have made that way. I think
Yeah,
that dragged out way too long. As soon as they got to the monster side, I was like, let's go. But
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
first half, I was like, they could have fast forward a little bit of that stuff. And I love
yeah,
slow builds. So for me to say that, that's saying a lot.
yeah,
But Nosferatu was just the biggest problem is the tone game. Like the
yeah,
tones did not mix. Like, this is supposed to be this dark, dreadful gothic story, and it felt like a joke half the time. Like I
yeah,
love Willem Dafoe, but he felt like a cartoon character. I'm
yeah,
like, what
yeah.
movie is this? What is going on?
And it's
Who knows?
wild because it's wild because like Eggers obviously has worked with Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse, and The Lighthouse is one of the fucking freakiest movies, and Willem Dafoe in that is. But again, it's the tone, like because his weirdness plays into the idea of The Lighthouse. So I feel like that's maybe why it worked. But yeah, I just thought, the whole, yeah, you're right. The whole tone was weird. The casting was bizarre, and I really wanted to like it because I really liked they did the day for night stuff as well, and I really liked the way day for night looks. Yeah, I remember watching it and I was just like, well, I'm thoroughly disappointed, and I should have loved this. This was,
Yep.
my thing, and it just wasn't. But at the same time, it's like I understand that it was his telling on it, but I'm disappointed because Eggers the Witch is one of the best horror films of the last 20 years, I think, and and The Lighthouse was great, completely unique, completely off the wall, completely just in its own league. And then what did he do after that? I can't remember what it
The
was.
Northman.
It was The Northman. I didn't mind that. Again,
I like The
I thought it
Northman.
was cool, but it didn't stand out as much as me the others. But I wasn't disappointed by it.
Yeah.
But Nosferatu, I was like, what the fuck is that?
Me and a group of my friends, including my wife and my mom, saw Nosferatu on Christmas Day, and that was
What a group of people to see that film with.
yeah, it was a weird time. My mom had no idea what's going on. It was
Oh
hilarious, but
no.
my wife Sam and I were both like, and I've kind of become the guy who likes everything, which isn't
Yeah.
true. I just enjoy movies. They're just like
Yeah.
they're a
Yeah.
miracle to me, and most of the time I get something out of it. But I walk and she's like, "Please tell me you didn't like that." And I was like, "No, that was a bummer." I was like, "That
Yeah.
was a massive,
And they're like,
massive
oh,
bummer."
okay.
And it's so funny because when I posted about it on Facebook, people were like, "Oh, you just don't get gothic horror. You must not be a Robert Eggers fan." I was like, "I love Robert Eggers. What are you
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?"
yeah.
I was like, "That's why I'm
Yeah, this
so
is why I'm
bummed."
disappointed. Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that's the thing. It sucks. But do you know what? Like what he's doing that no one like Wolfman or some shit. I can't remember. And he's doing
yep.
I'm holding out hope, but I'm also not crossing my fingers because I'm like, if it's in the same vein as Nosferatu, I'm not too bothered. But maybe it's just not
I
for me.
think
I don't know.
I think Lily Rose is in that one too.
No, oh, she is. I've seen there's like shots from them when they were shooting. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't really seen her in much else, so I can't really judge. I can only judge her off that one performance, and I did
Yeah.
not like it. It was just bizarre, bizarre.
No. Speaking of practical and this like new return to form for movies, I don't know if this movie's on your radar, but I saw Project Hail Mary last night.
I've heard of it, but I haven't. Like I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
Okay, I don't want to give too much away. I've read the book too,
Okay.
but it's basically a sci-fi movie. It stars Ryan Gosling. He's on a mission to save the world from this looming threat. It's not like it's like a very kind of scientific based threat. It's not this crazy like aliens are invading or something stupid. It's like very like, wow, that would be really fucked
Yeah.
up if that was happening in real life. And then he ends up meeting this alien who has the same problem, and they kind of form this
Right.
like weird bond to save both their planets. And it's
Okay.
told non-linearly. He wakes like the opening scene, he wakes up in the spaceship and has no idea why he's there. Doesn't even know who he
Right.
is. And he figures it out as he goes along. And then they show flashbacks that kind of inform his memory coming back. That I think is done in a really beautiful way. But it was shot by Greg Fraser, who I talked about earlier, who shot the
Yeah.
Batman, both Dune movies. And there is no green screen in this movie whatsoever. It was either it was all practical sets, the volume, or a mix of all of that. I believe they did some of the space scenes and with miniatures, like how they
Yeah.
did with Star Wars back in the day. And even the alien Rocky is a complete puppet, and the guy who puppeted him
Interesting.
voices him too. But it's
Sick.
crazy because the whole
Okay.
thing is he has a completely different kind of, he like pretty much talks in like musical note, like he talks in notes, like
Okay.
in like song, and then he finds a way to translate, and then they find a way to communicate. And it's just, and the thing that I love about it that's not a norm for sci-fi, because obviously sci-fi is very known for post-apocalyptic, this crazy, depressing,
Yeah.
dreadful, like it's always like a comparison to Class or anything like that. Like the
Yeah.
Dune is like the easiest example.
Yeah.
But
And what is
this
it, that
one,
District 9 kind of vibe? Yeah, it's always the
yes,
same thing. Yeah.
yeah, this one has a lot of hope to it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those movies that I think is coming out at a perfect time, because obviously the world is fucked. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty plain to say things going on right now suck. And to have a movie that comes out
Yeah.
that's really about
About
what
bridging.
humans are capable of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you have a central goal, when there's hope involved, when there's intelligence involved,
Yeah.
and it is not only visually is it beautiful, but just thematically, it is
Yeah.
an absolutely beautiful movie, and a movie that feels like it's a good adaptation of the source material. They changed
Okay.
some stuff for sure. That's always going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the audiobook is like 16 hours long. So the
God.
movie's almost
Okay.
3 hours. It's like
Oh,
2 hours,
okay.
45 minutes or something like that. So it's a pretty long movie, but you don't really feel it. It moves along pretty fast. And Ryan Gosling, I feel like he
Oh, I
is,
love him.
it's so wild because obviously he's a massive movie star, but I feel like
Yeah.
his acting abilities are so underrated,
Oh,
because that dude
so
is a
underrated.
chameleon.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can do
It's
anything.
like he's just like he's so good. Like I the mums love him. The kids love him. Like everyone loves him. Like he ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? Like but he's a great actor, and like he's versatile. He's hugely versatile. He can be really emotive, and you can feel very attached to him. But also he's a great comedic relief in a lot of films as well. So yeah, and it's hard to get that balance. I feel like for a lot of that, especially those big
For
A-list
sure.
actors, because you get kind of put into like categories of where you sit. Like Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage in every film he's in, kind of vibe. So it's nice that we've got an actor that kind of does a bit of everything.
The movie is very funny and it is very joyful, but it is also very emotional. And he carries pretty much the entire movie on his back. It's like him and a little weird rock alien puppet for most of the movie, and he is unbelievable. And you'll fall in love. Rocky is going to be the biggest thing. Forget
Yeah, I'm
Groot,
intrigued
forget
because
Grogu. Rocky's the new thing. All right.
sick. Okay, no, I'll put it on my list because I've heard of, but I just didn't know anything about it. So I'm intrigued.
This year is massive for movies. It's probably the biggest
Mm-hmm.
year for movies in our lifetime, to be honest. I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. And this is going to be the one to beat for me this year.
Really? Okay,
Obviously,
interesting.
movies like the Odyssey and Dune and maybe even Avengers have a chance. Or I mean, Steven Spielberg is coming out with a fucking UFO movies this year. Crazy. So there's definitely a lot that's coming out that could
Yeah, for
take that
sure.
spot, but and maybe it's because I read the book and I already had like an emotional attachment to
Yeah,
me, but
yeah.
this movie
No,
was
but maybe
just
you'll be more
got me.
critical of it. That'll probably make you more critical. So
I've become the book is better guy. I've talked about this too much on the podcast lately, but I've become the book is better guy. And this is
yeah,
just as good as the
yeah.
book.
Okay, okay,
And I loved the
okay,
book. I thought the book was
okay.
fantastic.
Right. Well, I'm taking your
So
word for it. I'm definitely gonna look into it for sure.
it's a great one. It's a good crowd pleaser, and just like it feels like what blockbuster movies should be. Like
Yeah,
honestly, like this is what blockbuster movies should be.
yeah.
Is stuff like this. What have you been watching recently?
Do you know what? I've watched the Fallout. I think I got about 3/4 of the way through it. The new Fallout season. I love it. I think it's a really good. I'm a big gamer as well, so obviously I loved the fact that they actually didn't mess up a video game adaptation. I've played Fallout, but I'm not as attached to it as I am to like other franchises. So maybe that helped a little bit. But I do find that a lot of people seem to be quite enjoying it, like across the board, whether they're fans or not fans. Like I think even my parents like watched a bit of it and they were like, "Oh, that was quite good," and I was like, what?
Wow.
Like, so but yeah, I've watched a bit of that. I just sort of stopped. I've just been so busy. I got about 3/4 of the way through. I've just been watching lots of films, but TV series. I've just been watching. Do you know what my comfort thing is? Is the Osbournes.
Oh
My
wow.
comfort thing that I put on if I'm cooking, if I'm cleaning, it's just the Osbournes. Like, I just put that
Wow.
on like in the background. It's a weird. It's a weird thing because I'm not a reality TV, but I really don't like reality TV. I don't have live TV in my place. Like, I don't watch live TV, but it kind of gives me that, like, it's because it's like that 2000s, like they were the first people to do reality TV, and it just has a very like comforting like vibe, and like I don't know why, because it's chaos, but it's organized
Yeah.
chaos in a weird way. And I just put it on repeat. Like, I just go the 4 seasons and I go back to the beginning, and but only really when I'm like doing stuff. I don't like sit and actively watch it.
Background.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But other than that, there's Sinners I watched recently. I rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think I've seen that about 3 times now. One of the best films ever. And every person I say to watch it, I'm like, I promise you, it's not going to be what you think it is. And every single person I've promised to watch it, like, told them to watch it, they're like, that was unbelievable. I'm like, yeah, I told you. Like, it's great. It's such a good film, like, across the board, amazing. But yeah, I've just sort of been like, one of my go-to, again, like, comfort films is Van Helsing. Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale. It's so shit, but I love it. It's amazing. He is, like, again, it's it's a guilty pleasure for me, but I just don't care. And it's one of those things where it's the portrayal of the characters, like I can't remember his name, the guy that portrayed Dracula. Again, unbelievable. And again, in the sort of, I've sort of like, I did a lot when I was coming up with stuff for the videos and trying to research stuff, like came across like the top 10 actors that portrayed Dracula, and I was like, I wonder what like actual big fans of this community think. And he comes up quite hard. The film comes up very low, but his portrayal is like, and the CGI of the werewolf transformation apparently is still incredible, because obviously, like, it looks great to me, but even people in that world and people that watch like sci-fi, a lot of that, they're like, it's still one of the best like portrayals of a transformation of a werewolf ever on the film. And I was like, that's wild. So again, so I put that on the other day. The soundtrack's amazing. I love the ballroom scene with like all the vampires. I just love it. It was partly why, like, Gasoline, like when we did the music video for that, I was like, I just love that kind of like really like gothic kind of elaborate look. And so it was kind of a lot of fun to like take like things that I love and put it into the videos as well. Ties it all together nicely.
Also, this is another MCU thing you need to check out. Werewolf by Night. They did this thing called special presentations, and they've only done it a few times, but it's like an hour long, and that's it. It's all in black. Well, they made a color version, but it was filmed for black and white, mostly because there is some quite gory parts. And since it's black and white, you can get away with it because it's not red blood, which is wild that's the precursor for rating in anything.
Yeah.
If it's alien blood or whatever,
I know,
fine.
it's so stupid.
If it's red. But that one's really cool. And it's actually directed by Michael Giacchino, who's an acclaimed film composer, but he does the score and it's directorial debut. And it's that one's awesome. It's very cool. I want more from that world, and we haven't gotten any since then. Really,
that's always the way, though, isn't it? Every time something's good, they go, no, we're gonna do this thing that's bad.
It was so good, and it feels so un-MCU like, because it just feels like a old school horror movie in a lot of ways. It's really cool. You'll like that one for sure.
Yeah, okay,
probably more than Thunderbolts. But
I think
it's
I've just
easier.
like if I open Disney Plus, I just skip past the Marvel section now, because I'm just like, I'm not watching any of that. Like, honestly, it's so bad. Like, I just don't care. And it's like, again, for me, like, I was so into it. And like, I went to see Infinity War like the day it came. I was at the cinema on the day it came out. Watched it multiple times, researching all the theories, all this kind of stuff. No, and now I'm just like, whatever.
I usually start the episodes with this, but I think it'll be good to end with it. So, is there a certain TV show, movie, video game, anything like that when you were younger that you got your hands on and you were like, oh,
yeah,
this stuff is incredible?
So there's like actually like a couple of things, and it's all like slightly like multi-layered, but like, because it's for me, it's like films, video games, and universes, they all kind of mesh, but they're all kind of separate, like the way I got into them. But like, I've always been into films. Like, my parents always watch films, and we'd always watch films together as a family. And my parents like kind of anything. They weren't big on sci-fi, but they've got a bit better now. But I like Van Helsing. I got bought that DVD when I was 7 years old for Christmas. There's a picture of me at Christmas like this, like with it, like, and I'm like, it's like a 15. But again, like we'd watched it with my parents. I wasn't freaked out, and it's like a vampire. It's not like horror. It's just like vampires and blood. That's probably why it was a 15. But like, you know, and I just loved that world, and I just thought it was so cool, and I thought it was so like, don't know, I just loved it. And then I got really into My Chemical Romance. They're like my favorite band of all time. Big theatrics, the world building, the Black Parade thing, and I just loved kind of all that. The art and the music can combine. That kind of taught me like you can combine things. You don't have to keep them separate. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like I would love to be able to do that. And then video games. I've always played video games like ever since I was young. Just like, you know, play on the really old computer. And I'd play like Rayman 2, or like I think I had like Flight Simulator, but I could never get the plane off the ground when I was like 5 years old. So I'd just sit there staring at the screen, and it's just all the buttons on no idea. But then as I got older, I'd sort of discovered like Sims. And I remember like I first got Sims 2, and I was like, it's like you can create like whole storylines and worlds and families and situations, and it just expanded that in me. And then I started playing like fantasy RPGs, because you know that's the classic jump from Sims to fantasy RPGs. But it's just, you know, and Skyrim was one of those for me where I was like, wow, like this is cool. And Lord of the Rings, I've been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was a kid. I think my cousin, who I'm really close to, she loved it growing up. She absolutely loved it, and she, I think, tried to get me into it. Like there's quite a big age gap between us, and when I was 10 years old, she took me to Leicester Square to see the stage show. There was a stage show apparently in London for my like 11th or 10th birthday or something, and I was like, well, that's it, I'm hooked, that's it, I'm done. That was for the rest of my life, just Lord of the Rings. So yeah, like it's always just been around me. Like I think that it's like not specifically like one thing. It's just kind of like little bits like here and there. But I think and you know, now I'm a big Baldur's Gate fan, because I've done so many playthroughs of it. I got the art book the other day, which is literally on my shelf there. I bought it. It's pride and joy up there now. It's just, again, it's always world building. Everything for me is always like something it's deeper than just the surface level. Like I still go to sleep listening to Skyrim podcasts about the lore and like the Dark Brotherhood and why Ulfric Stormcloak was actually a Thalmor agent and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know, so to me, it's always just deeper level things. And I'm very grateful that everybody around me was like, they never shut it off. Like even my parents love My Chemical Romance. Like when I was like, oh, awesome. I like this band, My Chemical Romance, they were like, cool, they're coming to see them with me at Wembley. So like my mum was a punk, my dad loved like club music and like Britpop and that kind of stuff. So my mum's from Glasgow in Scotland, and she was in the punk kind of thing, like Susie and like all that kind of stuff. And then it all moved to like new romantic music, which they were both really into. So like now new romantic has like, it's kind of like, you know, it's very flamboyant, very like out there, very theatrical. So when I came out with this band like My Chem, I was like expecting your parents to be like, everyone's like, do your parents hate this? I'm like, no, my mum loves it. Like, so again, like no one's ever shut it off, and people would introduce stuff. My cousin like, yeah, this is Lord of the Rings, this is so cool. And my parents would buy me DVDs of films I liked and CDs. I went to go buy American Idiot when I was 10 years old with my own money, and my dad had to come with me because I couldn't buy it because it was explicit.
Yep.
So yeah, just nobody ever shutting my creativity and my want for like that down. It was never. I'm sure if there were inappropriate things, somebody would have been like, no. But you know, a vampire film and Billy Joe Armstrong saying "fuck" is fine. Do you know what I mean? That's allowed to cross the line.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. That's super cool. Charlie, thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome. I liked where this went.
Yeah, it's nice for me to talk about something other than like the songs for a change. Being in a band,
that's the goal.
I hate talking about the songs.
That's the goal of this whole thing is for people like you to be able to promote the things they're doing while talking about things they like. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, it is semi-relevant, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, for sure. We talked about the music, sort of.
Exactly.
Before we get out here, please let the people know what you have going on, what as everything unfolds has coming up.
So our album is coming out on the 10th of April, or it might already be out depending on when this comes out, which obviously is super exciting. We got some stuff coming up in the summer, some festivals and things happening, and we are also doing a tour with Future Palace at the end of the year in Europe. So that's going to be a nice long stint. We're doing Scandinavia and sort of like eastern side of Europe, which we don't actually do a lot of. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then 27, I think, is going to be busy as well.
Very cool to hear. And if you haven't already, I'll put down links below so you can go and support the band. If you want to support the podcast, metalcore.com, all our links are there in one easy place. And if you want to follow my personal account, it's just at SeanXMott on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, see you later, nerds.